I remember how the music seemed to slow that night. The small downtown bar glowed with the hazy warmth of cheap whiskey and soft, amber light. Emma looked beautiful beneath those flickering bulbs, her smile a mix of shyness and mischief, the kind of smile that made you think maybe the world wasn't so cruel after all. We'd been together almost 2 years. It wasn't flawless, but I believed in what we had. I thought it was strong enough to weather the small storms that every couple faces. That night was meant to be simple: a friend's birthday, a few drinks, maybe a slow walk home through the quiet streets. I didn't know it would turn into one of those memories that play on repeat in your head long after. It started when a slow, familiar song came on, the sort that always pulled people onto the dance floor. Emma's friend Jenna grabbed her hand and tugged her forward, laughing. But before they could start, a tall guy stepped in, confident, the kind of man who never seemed unsure of anything. He said something to Emma that made her laugh, and a moment later, she was in his arms. My chest tightened. The laughter, the hum of voices, the glimmering lights, all of it faded until it was just them. He leaned close, whispered something I couldn't hear, and she smiled. Not a polite smile. A real one. The kind she used to give me after long days, the kind that made me feel like I was home. Someone beside me, maybe a friend, said something, trying to ease the tension, but I didn't catch it. I just stood there with a drink that suddenly tasted wrong, pretending it didn't matter, pretending I was fine. Every second stretched out painfully. I wanted to leave, to walk out before anyone saw what I was feeling, but some stubborn mix of pride and hurt kept me rooted there. Watching her move with him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder, it felt like watching something that used to be mine slowly slip away. When the song ended, he leaned in again, said something that made her laugh. She didn't look at me. She didn't have to. I was already building excuses in my head. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe she got caught up in the moment. But deep down, I knew something had cracked. I set my glass down, still half full, and stepped outside. The night air was cool and sharp, cutting through the warmth of the bar. I stood there, staring at the reflection of neon letters shimmering on the wet pavement. People passed by, talking, laughing, living lives untouched by quiet heartbreak. I told myself not to overreact. It was just a dance. People dance with others all the time. But it wasn't the dance that hurt, it was what it revealed. That easy comfort between her and someone else. The lack of hesitation. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. I was about to call a ride when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, expecting one of my friends, but it was her. Emma. She looked flushed, breathless, and a little unsure. You left? She said softly, like she hadn't expected me to. I needed some air, I replied, my voice sounding too calm. She folded her arms, rubbing them as if she were cold. You're upset. I'm not, I lied. Just surprised. She bit her lip and glanced down. It was just a dance. Yeah, I said quietly. It's always just something, isn't it? Her eyes met mine then, and for a moment, the confident mask she always wore slipped. She looked small, uncertain. I shouldn't have, she whispered. I saw your face, and I didn't mean to hurt you. The streetlight above us flickered once, then steadied. And that's when it hit me. She'd followed me out. She didn't have to. She chose to. That made it harder, because part of me wanted to let it go, to believe her, to make it all okay again. But another part, the quieter, truer part, knew it wasn't just about that moment. It was about everything that had been slowly unraveling between us for months. She took a hesitant step closer. Can we just go home? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. I looked at her, really looked, at the woman I loved but was afraid I was already losing. Yeah, I said finally. Let's go. We walked to the car side by side, not speaking. And though she was close enough to touch, I'd never felt more distant from her. The drive home was heavy with silence, the kind that fills every inch of space until even the sound of the engine feels too loud. Emma turned her face to the window, the passing streetlights casting slow, golden stripes across her skin. I wanted to ask her why that dance, why him, why now, but the words never came. The words I wanted to say stayed trapped somewhere between my chest and my throat. When we got home, she slipped off her heels and placed them neatly by the door. I followed her inside, still uncertain. Should I say something, or just pretend nothing had happened? The air between us felt thick, heavy with all the things we hadn't said. She turned to face me. "Lucas," she began softly, "please don't turn this into something it isn't." I almost laughed, not out of humor, but because it was so familiar. That gentle way she had of dulling the edges of what she'd done. "It's not about the dance, Emma," I said. "It's about how it felt watching you forget I was even there." Her eyes shimmered, though I couldn't tell if it was from guilt or fatigue. "You're reading too much into it," she murmured. "I just wanted to have fun." "That's the thing," I said quietly. "You used to have fun with me." She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, and leaned against the counter. For a while, I just watched her. The small gestures, the familiar way she held herself. It struck me how distant she seemed, though she was only a few steps away. Then she spoke again, her voice softer this time. "I don't know when we started feeling like strangers." Her honesty caught me off guard. "Maybe when we stopped fighting for us," I said. "Maybe when silence became easier than trying to fix what was broken." She looked down at the glass, turning it in her hands. "I saw you walk out tonight," she whispered. "It scared me. Not because you were angry, but because I thought you were done." "I almost was," I admitted. "Maybe I still am." The words hung in the air between us. Neither of us moved for a long time. Then she crossed the room, hesitated, and rested her head against my chest. Her hair still carried that faint vanilla scent, tangled with traces of smoke from the bar. I wanted to stay distant, to protect whatever pride I had left, but my arms moved on their own, wrapping around her like they'd done 1,000 times before. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I really am." And for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed her. But belief didn't fix anything. Sorry didn't rebuild what trust had already eroded. It only acknowledged that the cracks were real. We stayed like that, silent, her heartbeat quick and uncertain against mine. I thought about the man at the bar, the easy way she'd smiled at him. And I wondered if this was the start of our ending, or the fragile spark of a second chance. When she finally pulled back, her eyes searched mine. "Can we try again?" she asked. "I don't know," I said truthfully, "but I'm willing to see." She nodded, biting her lip. "That's all I can ask." Later, when she fell asleep beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The room was dark, but my thoughts were loud. Love, I realized, isn't just about forgiving, it's about trusting. And once that trust is cracked, it never fits quite the same again. But when she stirred in her sleep and reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. Maybe that was weakness. Or maybe it was hope, fragile, uncertain, but still alive. The next morning, she made coffee like she always did, humming softly under her breath. She smiled as she handed me a cup, and for a moment, it almost felt normal again. But I knew better. We were standing on thin ice, pretending not to hear it creak. Later that day, as she left for work, she kissed me lightly on the cheek, something she hadn't done in weeks. When the door closed behind her, I stood there for a long time, feeling the ghost of her touch fade away. I didn't know what came next. Maybe she'd stay. Maybe she wouldn't. Maybe one day we'd look back and see this as the moment we started to rebuild, or the quiet beginning of our goodbye. But right then, I only knew one thing. Love doesn't always end with shouting or betrayal. Sometimes it fades in silence, in small, almost invisible moments. Like watching someone dance with somebody else and realizing you're not angry anymore. Just tired. Tired, but still hoping. Because hope, like love, never really knows when to stop breathing.